And we're up and running.
Very good. We wanted to tell you a story we found sort of interesting about our time in Bolivia when my sister and brother-in-law came to visit us. We wanted to give them as much experience in the country as we could. As you know, we took them on a hike on an Inca road through the mountains for over a weekend. But we also decided we would make a land trip. We'd go using our Jeep, we'd go from La Paz to Cochabamba to then on to Santa Cruz. So that meant going from the northern part of the country to the central and then the southern part. And Cochabamba is a lovely city at about 8,000 feet altitude, pretty much spring to summer-like weather all year round. And then Santa Cruz is more tropical. Because they were in the country, before we left, they asked what they should do with their passports. And we were concerned they might lose the passports, so we said, leave them here at the house. We didn't expect that there would be any need for identification for them anywhere. Ardith and I, of course, had all kinds of papers because we were employees of the U.S. government working in the country. We had a lower level of a diplomatic passport, plus a lot of travel documents identifying who we were. Well, it was a nice trip. There was only one paved road, and that was fun. And then we got into the unpaved roads. But we made this trip after Che Guevara and his band of Cuban rebels traveled to Bolivia to try to foment a revolution there. So this group was being tracked by the Bolivian army and by the US, I'm sure. But at this point, it was only the Bolivian army that was trying to stop them. But they were so ill-equipped and ill-prepared and ill-informed that they never really caught up with them very much. And occasionally when they did and tried to follow them, they'd get ambushed. So it was common for Che and his small band to come into a town to re-provision themselves, pay as much or more than everything was worth, essentially trying to win hearts and minds. They knew that eventually word would get out to the army that they were there, and they would then fade back into the woods and up into the hills and be gone. Well, it so happened that we were driving through this area. I hadn't really given this much thought ahead of time. We didn't, did we? No. And we came to a roadblock, an army roadblock. There were 3 Bolivian soldiers there, 2 privates, and I don't know whether it was a lieutenant or a sergeant.
Very young.
They were very young, and they were armed, of course. And there was a cable across the road, and they stopped us. One of the soldiers was carrying an M1 rifle. The other was carrying a Browning automatic rifle, a BAR. It's about as big as he was. And he was so young, I looked at it and I thought, my God, if that thing ever went off, I don't know that he'd know how to stop it. So that made us a little nervous, although Ardith and I had been through a lot of army barricades before. That's a whole different story, because there were so many coup d'etat attempts in Bolivia that often they would say we're in a siege mentality, and so roadblocks would be set up everywhere. But we had all the papers we needed to get through, and they didn't pay much attention to us gringos. We weren't the source of their problem.
We're going to reset. Hold on just one second.
Mm-hmm.
Recording stopped.